Welcome to 3Spoonies. We're your hosts, Karen, Jo and Claire. This episode is number 27 on discrimination. Join us as we dive in.
At Grow Radio, we've launched and supported countless podcasts, and we'd love to do the same for you. Just hit record and we'll handle the rest. No editing stress, no technical faff, just a great podcast released exactly when you want. We've helped business owners, coaches, creatives and community leaders turn their ideas into professional podcasts. Whether you're sharing industry insights, telling incredible stories, or growing your brand, we make the process simple and stress-free. Want to learn more? Our workshops and courses will guide you through everything from planning to promotion. So, if you're ready to bring your podcast to life, let's chat. Message us on social media or reach out to Gary Jones, the founder of Grow Radio. We'd love to help you get started.
Hello, I'm Karen from Pony.
And I'm Jo from Bright Cat Business Solutions.
And I'm Claire from Sparkle's Gift Boutique.
We are 3Spoonies navigating our way through life and business with not enough spoons. This week, we are going to be talking about discrimination. We have a panel of lovely guests. I'm not sure if panel is the correct collective noun for guests, but let's pretend it is. So I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves. First off, Angie, tell us a little bit about you.
Morning, ladies. So I'm Angie Simmons. I'm a personal development and mental wellness mentor. So by turning my mental mess into my message, I help open-minded, purpose-driven women improve their mental and emotional well-being.
Fabulousness. Desiree, would you like to give us a quick introduction?
Yes, my name is Desiree Djanie and I am a hair and scalp expert. So I took a career change into an area that I was incredibly passionate about because of the fact that I found it very isolating, not being able to get my hair done with my friends at the same salon because we just couldn't. And so I set up this business as a way to bring people together. It's multicultural and it allows everybody to come in to get their hair done and have a chat and do the girly thing that we know that we've always done in the salon. But then I was led down a really lovely rabbit hole into helping hair scalp conditions and skin conditions. And again, I just decided to do that holistic approach to helping people look after their hair, scalp and skin. So that's where I'm here.
Awesome. I'm all for it. And apologies, I mispronounced your name. I'll get it right next time. Sorry about that. River, would you like to tell us a bit about you?
Hi, I'm River. I work full time, but I'm also a uni student, so I'm very busy a lot of the time. I'm very passionate about raising awareness of disabilities, and I'm always taking on challenges, and people look at me like I'm a bit crazy, but it's all about raising awareness and proving that my disability doesn't hold me back.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It's wonderful to have some different perspectives and some different ideas we can share with our lovely listeners and viewers. So I'm going to pass over to Jo, who has some lovely questions to ask you. To Jo.
Okay, thank you all for joining us. I would just like to say this is our very first anniversary episode. We've been doing this for a year now. So yeah, this episode is going to be a little bit longer than normal. And then we've got another one for you next week as well. But as we're talking about discrimination, can I firstly ask, what does discrimination mean to you? If anyone would have a jump in with that. Go on, Angie.
Discrimination, for me, depends on what you're talking about, if that makes sense. So people discriminate certain people because of their race, their colour, their religion. And it's, for me, I think it's really wrong when people make that decision that they can imprint their thoughts and their feelings onto others and then have a bit of a hissy fit if that person doesn't agree with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because, and the reason I say that is because of my spiritual beliefs. The amount of times I've been called a devil worshipper, which I'm like, I don't even follow that religion, so I don't know where that comes from. So I've had quite a bit of discrimination in that area in the past. And yeah, it's got to the point where it has really affected me emotionally and mentally. So yeah, I wanted to just put that one in there, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fabulous, Angie. And would anybody else like to add to that?
Yes, I would. I think the point, picking up on what Angie said, is that discrimination is unjust. Ultimately, it isn't. And in fact, there's another element of discrimination, which is another facet of the word, which just means being able to decipher between wrong or right. In fact, the word discrimination in itself is wrong, but the word itself has a secondary meaning, which is being able to know what is right and what is wrong. So discriminating from good things and bad things, right from wrong, and so on and so forth. So I find it really, it's just my neurodivergent mind just going into a different tangent at the moment, but it is ultimately somebody forming a judgment that is unjust on somebody else. And it's a struggle because you don't know what formed that way of thinking. You don't know what has led them to that. Did they inherit that feeling or that way of perceiving people, or did they form it themselves? Is it something that has come and developed by themselves, or was it inherited from somebody else, or was it a combination of both? And it's like a minefield, really, trying to figure out, especially when you're the one being discriminated against, where that person's coming from.
Yeah, that is completely makes sense. And don't worry about going on a neurodivergent tangent. We're well used to it here.
I was, when you said it, I was just thinking we do it all the time. We have to rein ourselves in and be like, oh yes, back to topic.
River, have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think discrimination isn't just about kind of the thoughts and how people perceive you, but it's also about the actions that they then take because of those beliefs. And I think discrimination comes in so many forms, whether it be like subconscious discrimination or whether it's conscious effort to go, no, I'm not going to involve them because of this, or I'm going to do this differently because of this.
Yeah, fabulous. Well, this episode's on facing discrimination. So before I jump into some nuance and techniques and things, have any of you faced discrimination and would like to tell us about it? No pressure if not.
I will jump in for the panel. Well,
Yeah.
we are panel too. I think my earliest one was at primary school, and I was the only person of colour at school, being mixed race, and had some lovely friends until one of the parents met me and realised I wasn't white. And the next day, I had no friends, and that was my earliest. That's my earliest kind of touch of judgment, just because of my skin colour. And that was a hard one to kind of get through. And it's weird because even as you get older, you still get it from people. Oh, my cat's joining. It's one of those things you think it would. And I think as Desiree was saying, it's like, where do people's judgments come from? Some of it is so ingrained from people's parents and their beliefs and how they see the world. And it makes me think back to like when my mum was pregnant with me, my nan didn't talk to her for a bit because my dad's black. But that was an older generational thing, and my nan had to get past that. Once I was born, it was fine. I was adorable, and it was like that sorted everything. But it's people just have such preconceived notions, whether it's generational or from their family members, and it's kind of you have to realize. I think you are your own person. You're allowed to have your differences of opinions, and it's okay to be friends with someone who isn't the same race as you. And we're not bad people. Everyone's just different.
Yeah. So the discrimination I experienced was to do with my color, the color of my skin. That similar to yours, it was so I was brought up in Ghana. I was born and brought up there until I was around 13 years old, and I was brought over here to the UK. And I remember having conversations with my sister, who was she is 4 years older than me, and she would talk about racism. And at the time, when we came here, nobody discussed any of this with us. In Ghana, I did not know how different I was. I was just Desiree. I was the same as anybody else. My color was my color because everybody looked like me. And I am here in a place where I look completely different to people, but inside, as much as I could see that they were different, I almost didn't think that they could see that I'm different, because no one's ever looked to me differently. I felt that the perspective of the difference was from me. I could see that. They can't see me.
I get what you mean. I get what you mean.
It's like, oh, surely they don't know I'm Black. if I carry on, I can get away with this.
You just blend in with everyone.
Yeah. And I could see I was making, light of it. And I had a situation where we were in the toilets, it was break time, and everybody was kind of freshening up their makeup and things like that. And I asked to share, and it was a friend of mine, her name's Lucy. And I said, Lucy, can I just borrow your foundation? And everything froze in the toilets. It was as though time stopped and I was the only one moving. And I was looking around at everybody and they were all looking at me. And they thought, she does not know. But I knew I was still going with the thing of, if I keep going, they wouldn't know that I'm different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I just keep doing this, everybody, you'll be fine.
It'll be fine. They wouldn't notice. They wouldn't know. So that was the day that I felt like I was outed. I've been outed. And then my sister said to me, no, they've always known you're Black, darling. Look at that experience that happened to you that day. Do you remember when this happened that time? This is what is called racism. And it was a new introduction to me. I just thought that they were just being horrible. They were just being mean. And she was able to pinpoint the nuances. There was a particular event where a boy asked me if I was comfortable in my shoes, that would I be better off taking the shoes off and walking bare feet, which would be similar to how I'd be chasing antelopes and tigers in Africa, where I came from. So perhaps just not wear clothes. That could be another thing that I could do. And that could be very similar to how I would be living in Ghana. And fork and knives. Well, why are you doing that then? Wouldn't you just want to just grab the food and just eat it? And my sister was able to just point them out and say, this is what racism is.
Yeah, whereas you're thinking it's people just being a bit mean
I just couldn't see it. I couldn't figure out why would you be like this? And what, because I didn't chase antelopes. I didn't eat like that. And I didn't, so surely they don't know what they're talking. They're just being horrible. So yeah, that was, and I was about 14 years old. So that was the first time.
I'm actually surprised they still go down the savage route. And yeah, that has to be ingrained from like parents and such. And just because I wasn't brought up that way, I find it really difficult to understand why people get to that. But I understand it is all bringing and things around them. And yeah, on one hand, well done for not noticing it. On the other, that was horrible.
Yeah, I think that's...
Oh, sorry. No, go for it, Karen.
No, I was just going to say, I've worked in some former mining towns when there's very deeply embedded things like that. And there'd be young people who'd say awful things, but with absolutely no malice behind it. They were just saying it as if it was a fact. And when you sat down with them and questioned it and said, okay, well, where does that come from? Where's that idea from? They could start to look at it. But if that's the only opinion you've ever heard, then that's an absolute truth. And I think that's the difficulty. We've all got our little inbuilt things, whether they're positive or negative. We don't always realise they're there until we're confronted with them. I think it is interesting to say, well, what are my values? Where has that come from? And even if it's a positive thing, I think I'm going to get on with people who are in this sort of group or something like that. Where's that from? Why do I think that? And when you start challenging things, it does start to open your mind up. And often it's better to do that before you're confronted with a problem. But again, we don't know what we don't know. So sometimes it's like, everything's fine. I have no prejudice at all. I'm completely open. And then suddenly you go, oh, actually, yeah, I'm making assumptions there.
Yeah.
Sorry, River. That was very rude of me.
No, that's fine. So I would say I kind of faced two kind of sets of discrimination, but it was when I was like a teenager, so I haven't really had it in my adult life, which I'm quite thankful for. The first one being my disability. So I didn't lose my vision till I was about 16. So I think people kind of struggled to adjust to that. Like it was, oh, but you could see that before. Like people didn't really understand that, yes, I had sight then and I didn't have sight now. And I think people kind of made assumptions or didn't really kind of accept the fact that I'd gone blind, because at that point, like I didn't use a cane, I didn't really have any kind of visible disability, and I still don't. Like I use my cane sometimes, but I don't use it other times. And I think people kind of struggle to understand why I need it on some days and not other days. And I think people look at you differently because of that, because they're like, oh, but you didn't need your cane when you were going around here. Why do you need it now? And it's all about how familiar I am with the route or the lighting of the day, or like if there's snow, ice. It all depends so much. So yeah, the other one I found was kind of as a teenager with like gender. So I'm non-binary, but obviously because people knew me as a woman, they really struggled with that, especially as a teenager. Like I had so much bullying around that, but it was just kind of accepted after a while. And I mean, it took years, even like my parents, it took them 3, 4 years. But I mean, I've been legally River for 3 years now. So they're kind of getting their heads around it. But like in my working life and my adult life, I've never had an issue with it because people have always known me as River. Whereas obviously as a teenager, people didn't, and people didn't understand why it was that. So there was a lot of dead naming, and that was like hard to get my head around because it was hard to see that people didn't see me in the same way that I see myself.
I do know a lot of trans people, and some people really struggle to flip that switch in their head. Some people don't. So I can definitely see where that is. Even if they don't mean to discriminate, they still do.
Yeah.
Angie?
Yeah, I want to pick up on a valid point that Karen made. So I'm glad Karen jumped in. I was from a mining village, and excuse me, it took me quite a few years to get over that mining village mentality of only white people are allowed. I don't understand how we all bleed the same, we all breathe the same. So what difference does it make whether you're your skin color is different, or whether you feel sexually different? It's something that, like I say, when growing up, I didn't see anything wrong with it because that's what was inducted into me. Same as the mentality of being the only girl of 4. So my brothers were allowed to do whatever they liked, but Angie had to stay and I felt like Cinderella. Thankfully, before Mum passed away in 2018, we got to unpack all that, because for all my life, I thought that I was being chastised because I was a girl, that I wasn't loved because I was a girl, because I saw the boys going out and getting everything, and Angie was tied to this kitchen sink. And yeah, as I say, it felt like Cinderella. So thankfully, was able to break that cycle. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the religious side of things, I was brought up in a very strong Christian background. I didn't feel comfortable in that Christian background. And when my brother passed away in 2007, I started opening up and just expressing how I felt about certain things, what I felt, what I saw, what I heard. And like I said earlier, to be then called a devil worshipping whore, and I should have died, not my brother. All these, not realizing, started impacting on my mental health massively. And it took a lot of inner work for me to be able to go in, because I think what we do when we're growing up, we've got that, we have to protect ourselves. Yes, we don't live in caves anymore, but we've still got that mentality of protecting ourselves. And I think sometimes we put things in little boxes and put them in the boxes, lock them and think they're all sorted. But unfortunately, something will happen later on in life that will actually put the key in that door and open it, and you're not prepared for it. And I think that's what a lot of stuff happened with me. Sorry that my computer's going to now start bleeping. So if you can hear it, I do apologise because I can't switch the chuffing thing off. So yeah, I think sometimes when stuff's going off as you're growing up, we, like I say, we put them in boxes, and then other things will happen that undo these boxes, and we can find it pretty hard to deal with that stuff that's thrown at us. I hope that makes sense, because when I'm ramble, because my throat just wants to decide it don't want to talk, and my computer's going to start bleeping at you. So hey, welcome to Angie's world.
It does make sense. I completely get what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's even moving up to Durham. And I find it really weird because obviously living in London and growing up in London, it's very multicultural and there's all different ethnicities and stuff. But moving up here, when I first moved up here, I didn't see many other people other than white people. And Ricky came back from London once, booked him a taxi, and the driver's like, "Oh, you're not from around here," chatting away. And he's like, "Oh, well, at least you're not the brats moving up here." And obviously he's like, "Yeah, my wife." But and I think some of they don't say it in a way to go out of their way to be disrespectful. They don't know any different. And I think that's where a lot of discrimination can come from. It's people don't understand things, and so they're kind of ignorant to it. And just the way they can come out with things sometimes is just, I don't know, I can't get the right words for it, but it's just like that lack of knowledge and understanding.
What about you, Karen? Have you experienced any discrimination? I'm going to say you probably have.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have a problem with if you don't fit into their preconceived notion. If someone's a wheelchair user, but they just stood up, so they obviously don't need a wheelchair. And it's like, well, no, it's just that in that moment, someone's able to reach. Maybe they do need the wheelchair because they wouldn't have had the energy to walk up to the point where they were able to stand up. Or with things like sexuality as well, it's like the number of people who don't understand bisexuality is a thing. And it's like, well, there was certainly a thing when I was growing up in the LGBT societies that if someone who was female presenting was going out with a woman, suddenly they'd say, "Oh, I'm absolutely gay, 100% gay, completely right at the end of the Kinsey scale, never fancied a man in my entire life, don't even like them." And it was this thing that it's like, "Oh, well, you're going out with a woman, so now you're properly gay." And it's like, no, that's not how things work. This was within a supposedly inclusive group as well.
Yeah, but there is such thing as bi-erasure. Of like, if you're with a woman, you're gay. If you're not, you're straight. It's like, no, that's not how it works. I've had to explain that a few times. Mine is mostly, well, other than that, the medical discrimination of doctors going, "You're just fat," or "You're too young to have whatever you've got," which is always fun. I'm looking forward to seeing a rheumatologist and be told I'm just fat.
The really nice thing is rheumatologists aren't as savage as that. They're not as bad as your doctors.
No, GPs are usually that savage.
Mm.
I was surprised I got as far as "You might have fibromyalgia" as fast as I did, instead of "There's nothing wrong with you, clearly you're just fat."
Yeah.
That might come with these days. I have a laundry list of stuff that is wrong with me, but there might be something else.
There could be more.
Yeah, I collect things.
I remember when I was getting diagnosed for fibromyalgia, I had so many different blood tests and like things, and my doctor would just constantly be like, "You're just overweight." And I was slimmer than I am now. Like I was in probably like a size 12 to 14 clothing. So I wasn't a big girl. But my doctor was like, "But you're overweight." And it was just like, this isn't from being overweight. And it took like, I think 3 or 4 years to kind of get a doctor that was just like, "No, this isn't normal. You need to see someone else." Like, it's a lot of fighting. And the whole, going off on tangent now, but the whole BMI thing just does my head in because it's such
dirty lies.
It lies. It's such an old, outdated thing that just needs to be
danger
binned.
of it at both ends of the scale. Like, I've known people who've been desperate for eating disorder treatment, but they were told, "Oh no, your BMI is too high." I know someone who'd been on a cardiac ward because her heart was failing because she wasn't consuming nutrients. And they were like, oh, well, go away and lose a few more pounds and then we'll see you. It's just horrendous.
I think weight is just seen as such a thing of, well, if you don't fit this model of what you should look like, then you're overweight and that's your problem. Whereas it's not the problem, because I know people that have like the healthiest lifestyle, but they're just a bigger person. They can't, and it's just, there's other things going on.
Mhm.
So it's not a case of like, oh, I'm sitting here stuffing my face with KFC and McDonald's and all of that. There's underlying things as well. And people just say, oh, you're fat. It's
That,
actually
and
not.
as a fat bird, we have access to mirrors, we have access to scales, we know what size our clothes are. If you hadn't just made a rude comment, I would have realised I'd gained weight. I'm not completely delusional. It's people making it a moral thing, like you said. I went to the doctors and I changed medication. I gained 18 pounds in a month. And they were like, well, have you been eating too many carbs? And I'm like, do you think I wouldn't notice eating? Like, even if I'd eaten 18 extra pounds of food, I wouldn't have gained that
You
much weight.
noticed that one.
Do you think I'm sleep eating pizzas, just like folding them in half and going like,
I'm sure that's
Just
what I
rolling it up like a little snack and just funneling it down your throat.
How did you not
turn it
slap
into a
them, Karen?
smoothie? Tomato puree means it's fruit.
One of your 5 a day.
So after there, that's our subtle advertising campaign for pizza there, brought to you by the Pizza Marketing Board. Actually, it's not, but it would be a sensible juncture for Spoonsful of Loveliness. Here's a lovely thing from one of our sponsors.
Running a business with ADHD is no joke. Maddie Alexander-Grout knows that firsthand. After years of battling distraction, burnout, and trying to fit into systems that just didn't work, she built a successful business on her terms. Now she helps other ADHD entrepreneurs do the same. Her coaching isn't about rigid structures or unrealistic advice. It's about finding strategies that actually work for neurodivergent brains. If you're tired of spinning your wheels and want practical, no BS support from someone who gets it, connect with Maddie on Instagram at Maddie Talks Money.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We hope those spoons were very lovely and you found something useful. So, we've all faced discrimination in some way or another, but have you found any tools or techniques that you can use when facing discrimination? Other than to slap people around the head and tell them stop.
That was my first go-to.
I know it would be.
Well, I found
Yeah.
something I use for my children. So aside from the fact that sorry, did someone want to?
Go for it.
No, go on.
So aside from the fact that I went through what I went through, I think when discrimination really hit me in the face was when not only did my older girl, who experienced discrimination at the age of 11, but then I found my 5-year-old, she was 5, going to 6 at the time, and she also started facing discrimination heavily. And that was what broke me, because it was just, it seemed to be happening earlier and earlier and earlier, it seems to me. I thought, wow, how do I have this conversation with her? What do I say? How do I react? How do I support her so that she can have this self-love, but still be able to deflect in the moment to return to safety? Because I wanted her to be safe, her safety. It was both physical, mental, and everything. And there were grown-ups who were also involved in it. And this was in a school setting. And it's really quite recent, so it gets a little bit emotional.
And it's your baby, like, you're going to be emotional.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
take your time.
yeah, and we're still going through it at the moment. So I would go through these things like, oh, poor them. They've not been taught that Black people are actually really lovely. Oh, poor them. They haven't actually been able to experience a lovely a relationship with a Black person. Oh, poor them. Well, if they had known how great you were, they wouldn't have said those things. Or let's just ignore this person. They're having a really bad day. Those words, those ways of putting that back to that person and saying that it's them, but not making it too heavy for my child to have to deal with, but feel sorry for them that they're having to go through this, that in fact, it's an illness, what they're going through, it's poor them. Let's have some pity on them. And then I was told by others, well, don't. That's far too much compassion afforded to people who don't need it. They don't have any grace for you. Why are you teaching your child to have this much grace for people who are doing this to her, especially when it became a physical attack? I'm still waiting for those tools that I might use, because we're still here. We're still in this, and something that is part of our lives now. And so I've had tools that I thought were great. And from a Christian background, I thought that this is what you do to people who hurt you. You turn the other cheek. You hate the sin, but not the sinner. But those tools don't seem to be the one that I need. They don't seem to be the one that I'm supposed to have or to pass on to my child. So I'm waiting for someone to say something that I can take along with me somewhere.
It's hard. I mean, I learn it's, and especially from the discrimination I had from a young age and growing up. I went into my adult life kind of with a very negative view on myself. So it was very hard to kind of push through a lot of things. I was very lucky. I met Angie, and she has helped me with so much personal growth and development. I now love journaling and stuff like that. Whereas before I was like, oh God, trying to write things down. I don't know what I'm doing. Now I write and I'm like, oh, I didn't know I was feeling this way, and this is where it comes from. And I think the biggest thing for me was bringing up my son because he's autistic, and the way people would react to him when we're out if he was stimming, and just presume that he was misbehaving or he was just whatever. And it's like, okay, I kind of judged the world in a different way before I had him. And that's where I'm very much like, people are ignorant to what they don't know. And they judge just based so easily off of what's going on around them. And it's not until you really kind of think about how other things are. And I think even like you said, it's about you're giving grace to people. I still give grace to people in my life that probably don't deserve it. But it's not going to benefit me to kind of hold on to the feelings I have for them. So the easiest way is to give them that grace and move forward. It's hard. Every scenario is so different, and you need different tools for each one. There is no one set tool that will work for everyone, because we're all different, and the people that are treating you in certain ways, they're so different. It would be so nice if there was just this is how you deal with this. And it's, it's hard, and you're doing the best you can for your kids. And I think the best thing you can just do is let them know they're loved. They'll get through it. They can see what an amazing mum and a woman you are. And that's kind of like their guide for where they'll be.
Love that, Claire. Took the word right out of my mouth. My goodness.
Can you tell I've been working with you?
One thing that you did say, there is no one size fits all. Definitely not. We're all unique beings. We've all got our own different thoughts and feelings, and there is no magic toolbox out there that's going to solve whatever's going off. And Desiree, when you were saying about giving grace to people, well done you. Because when most people, when somebody's being horrible, they fight back. If you actually send them love and light, there's nothing they can come back with. So you got to remember what energies and what emotions you're sending out there. Yeah. And if your teacher had not the same sort of thing, because obviously me and my daughter, we haven't got a different colour skin, we've got white skin, but we've had other things. And me trying to explain to her, she's now 19, that by fighting fire with fire, it's just going to make the fire worse. If you use it as a fire triangle, you cut one of those off, then there is no fire. You don't give other people into other people's beliefs and their horribleness. And I love the giving them compassion, saying, oh, poor them. Because that's because as you were saying earlier, some people, that they don't realize they're being that way. I'm not saying that's okay, because it's not okay. People need to be more educated and take responsibility for their actions. A lot of people won't do that, unfortunately. But going on to tools again, Claire mentioned it earlier, journaling. I've been doing personal development since 2014 because I had to change my life. I was going down the path of what I call self-destruct, drinking, popping antidepressants, angry with the world. I was one of those 5 people, Desiree, and I would not care what came out my mouth. I was just like, have that. And it wasn't me being horrible towards other people. It was my way of protecting myself at the time. So I started on personal development in 2014. It weren't until 2018 that I saw how it was working for me, and that I was able to just, oh, thank you very much for showing me your true colours. There's the door, and walk away. And then I just discovered journaling. Wow, what a powerful tool. Because like Claire said earlier, rightly so, you don't know what's going off in here. So if you're getting upset about something, it's 90% of the time because it's a trigger for you, and rightly so, what you've just discussed. But it's, where does that come from? How has it affected you? Blah, blah, blah. So when you start journaling, loads of stuff will come out your head that you don't even realize it's there. And you're like, okay. It's nuts how it works. I'm not going to go into the brain science of it, but it's just amazing how journaling can help you gain the clarity and the confidence to say, no, I don't deserve that. I ain't putting up with it.
It's
You
also
go your way,
like
I'll go my way.
when you've got someone that is kind of doing all they can to try and make your life like a living hell, and you don't know why they're doing it, you have no idea. It kind of makes you think, you kind of process it, and it's like, it just kind of helps you not take it so personally. And I mean, I think I've learned to kind of very much be like, if I can't control it, don't let it stress me. Obviously, I do have moments where I have complete meltdowns, and Karen are like my support system. And I'm just like, I will go off on a tangent and I will vent to them. I do try and kind of live by that. If I can't control it, I'm not going to give it my time. And I've got to try and find a way to move forward without letting it kind of take me down at the same time.
So that goes back to what I normally said. You can't control what other people do.
Yeah.
Say, you can only control how you respond. And I think, unfortunately, sometimes we do get in that little rat wheel of, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to me? That says more about that person than it does you.
Yeah.
Talk about yourself and feel like you're in the wrong. And like, I think especially as a kid, it's like, well, why are they doing this to me? What have I done?
Exactly. She was 5.
It's such a young age. Like,
yeah, 5-year-olds aren't equipped to deal with that and shouldn't have to. And I think that's also, it can be situational as well, that how you'd explain it to a 5-year-old is very different to how you'd possibly approach the school, when you might go in and go, yeah, Equalities Act. I mean, especially if it is educators who've been involved as well.
Yes,
because that school should be a safe space, both for your children and any other children who are coming along as well. And if that's not happening, then that's when the school is not doing its job, basically. If it can't provide that safety and security, that is absolutely the baseline, and it's failed. So you are perfectly within your rights to be saying, no, this is unacceptable, and speaking to other groups who can support you with that. But yeah, that's one thing. When a 5-year-old says something, but when it's an adult, especially someone who should be educating others, no.
You think they're also looking after your kids' safety, like they should be the first and foremost protector, kind of. We're letting you look after our kids for the day. We're giving you the trust that you're going to keep them safe like we would.
I will say, it's like, if you're dealing with like someone of authority or should be an authority, those things are they consider it better if you're going to them with a clear head and salient points. Like Angie says, journaling gets everything out of your head, and then you're not then going at a straight emotional level. You can end up, right, what points am I making? And then literally go through it as, this is a fact. I think they usually respond better to things like that. Sometimes they don't, but I think that's probably a good way of doing it.
Yeah, I really agree. So what I tend to do is I don't journal, but if something's affected me, is I don't respond straight away. I tend to sleep on it. And if it's still bothering me the next day, that's when I go, okay, that wasn't right. But I'm now in the headspace, my head's clearer, like I thought about it, and now I can respond to it.
Yeah.
So I always have a thing, I don't respond the same day because I know that my head will be full of emotions, and I'd rather it come from a kind of, I don't want to say practical sense of view, but a more logical sense of view rather than letting my emotions dictate how I'm responding to it. So
Yeah.
I always like to sleep on it before I respond to anything.
Very fabulous. My next question, has any words, has any well-meaning person ever done completely the wrong thing?
Yes. So I'll start off and say that I was crossing the road and I had my cane because it was like dark. And it was at a traffic light. It's like I knew what I was doing. I know how to cross the road. I'm 21. Like I've been crossing roads my whole life. But I kind of respect it when people come up to me and say, "Oh, do you want me to give you a hand? Do you want any help?" That's completely fine because it gives me my own authority to say, yes, I do need help, or no, I don't. But this lady came up to me and she didn't say a word. She kind of just took my arm and tried to drag me across the road. And I was like, I'm okay, thanks. That was all I said. I was just like, I'm okay, thanks. Like, you didn't even like say hello. You kind of just took my arm and tried to drag me across the road. And there were traffic lights there, like, and I didn't really know how to respond to that at the time. I was like, this is just weird. Like, but when people ask me, I'm really thankful for it because, yeah, sometimes I do need their help, but most of the time I don't. I'm very independent, and most of, like, probably 90% of the time, I don't need help. But like recently, with all the snow and the ice, I was very grateful when people did ask me. But yeah, being dragged across the road was not the one.
No, well, I've seen that with wheelchair users as well, where people will decide where a wheelchair user wants to go and just push them.
What about the rest of you? Yep.
I don't know if this counts, but when I was at college, I had a friend who was a wheelchair user. In fact, perhaps mine lead into the following topics, but I heard somewhere that someone said that if you watch bullies bully, they will bully you. So I proactively had there was another student who was disabled. She was a wheelchair user, and people just didn't want to speak to her, didn't want to talk to her. And I thought I had a glimpse of her personality, and I actually thought she was epic. And so suddenly, like, everything just went. The fact that she was disabled just disappeared. It was just, I just wanted to know more. Like, she's so funny. And well, we were friends. So, and she was like, she had this sense of humor that I liked, but perhaps you'd need to get to know her before you did. So as a funny thing, I thought it was funny and I thought she could deal with it. I did grab her wheelchair, and I wheeled her around. And it was really quite fast-paced kind of way of going. But that's how we became friends. And because she felt that it was, to her, that I don't know if that was like the only attention that she had or ever gotten, but the fact that I could predict that she would respond positively to that. We had our eyes on each other and it broke the ice, so to speak. And we were just fun friends, and we could do things together and have fun, even though she was in her wheelchair. And yeah. But it was a friendship situation. It was in a school, it was controlled, and yeah.
It's a lot different from a random stranger.
Yeah.
Well, I now have visions of you just like running around the halls with her in like corridors and stuff in her wheelchair and
Yes.
pushing her as fast as you can.
Oh, we did. We did. And she'd be laughing and completely laughing.
I love that.
I can see it.
But we were strangers to begin with because we hadn't spoken. But it was just that opportune moment of hearing her response to something. And I thought, wow, no one's given this girl a chance to speak this entire time. We're like the third term in, and I must have been watching, to me, you may see it as not bullying, but when people dismissed her that much, it was an element of bullying, because
It is bullying.
yeah, she was just dismissed. And when I thought, well, if I'm watching it happen, it could happen to me because I'm the next anomaly, because I'm the next Black girl, or I'm the next person with something. And so I don't want that to happen to me. So I've got to stand up for her or bring her out. It was an opportunity to let people know that she's so amazing. If you only spent the time to even eavesdrop on some conversations that she had, you would just be amazed as to how great her personality was. And also, I don't want to be bullied because I'm next. So
it is often found, like, people with a visible disability, they're often dismissed on like, oh, they're not like as intelligent, or they're slow. No, they're valued people. You're ignoring them, because especially if you're in a wheelchair, you're below eye level, therefore you're it is one of the things I worry about with my invisible disability now starting to become visible. It's like, how will that change how people perceive me? And that's something I'm working through in my head. It's okay, because it's like, when I've been out recently, like with my crutches, it's like, how are people viewing that? Whereas normally I wouldn't care, but it's a new thing. So it's like, I'm hyper aware of it.
It's like that self-consciousness comes in a bit, and you're just like, what? No.
It's like leaving me to my little bubble where people can ignore my existence and I can ignore theirs, unless they're friends, in which case they're lovely.
Yeah, I saw it a lot. My mum was a wheelchair user, and you get some people would ask my dad if my mum wanted a cup of tea, and it's like, she's just there. Or you get people who, there was someone who squatted down to her eye level and went, "Hello, love, you all right?" And she's like, "I'm not daft, I'm just in a wheelchair." It's like, oh, grown adult here.
And have to treat me like a child, it's fine.
And it's like, just because you can't, so my friend, she had a speech impairment too. And so as much as it was difficult for you to hear her, or to work through what she was saying, she heard us perfectly well. So the issue was for us to work through.
I love that.
Because suddenly I understood her way of speaking. But I would say to people, just speak to her, just talk. You don't need to slow it down just because she speaks this way. She doesn't need you.
She understands you.
She understands you.
Slower doesn't mean her brain's working slower.
Her brain's perfectly fine.
Yeah, she has difficulty communicating back to you, but yeah, she understands perfectly.
No, she was communicating perfectly back to us. She did not have any difficulty. The difficulty was that we couldn't understand her. But after a while, you understood her. To me, I saw it as an accent. I said, she just has an accent. My mum had an accent. My aunt had an accent. It would be difficult to... I've just got to get through the accent. And because I had family who spoke differently, like, to me, that was just another accent.
I love that way of looking at it.
Well, accents can be another thing where it's acceptable to show prejudice towards certain regional or world accents. It's like, I'm not going to even attempt to understand what you're saying because I'm unfamiliar with your accent. It's like you've just invalidated that person trying to communicate. Or, you know, how certain accents are seen as less serious, and it's one of those things that people maybe aren't quite so aware of. But like you said, if you take a bit of time and you get used to an accent, you stop hearing it so much. It's, especially if someone's trying to communicate and possibly communicating in what isn't their first or possibly even second language, do you know what? Put in a little bit extra effort to listen to them.
Yeah, it's all valid and helpful. Anyone else before I ask the next one?
I just want to pick up on something that you did say, Jo, and quite rightly so, when there's a disability there that you can't see. I think the only time I've really had that was when I was at school. Now, I'm getting on a little bit now. But when I was at school, I didn't understand a lot of stuff. And I was told, oh, you're just thick. And I was put in the dunce class, as they called it. Turns out, when I was 33, that they found out I'd got dyslexia.
Yep.
And it was like, so all my childhood, I was labelled thick and stupid. It's not. I just didn't understand the way that somebody else would understand. So I think it's having that compassion. If somebody does not understand something, take your time and figure out what it is that they don't understand. And they're not assuming that they're stupid.
No. Well, see, back then, so when I was diagnosed with dyslexia when I was 17 or 18, and I remember my tutor actually saying, he said, Desiree, see, the thing is, I'm sending you here to go and get an assessment because I can't quite figure it out. You're either very exceptionally clever or you're dumb. And I don't know which one.
Wow.
I relate.
Ouch.
He says, I don't know which one, but I'm confused and you've got to go here. So I was just pulled out of class. My mum didn't know anything about it. And in African society, like my mum doesn't want to discuss this whole thing. It's like, what do you mean? You're bright, you're great, you're doing great, you've got multiple degrees, you're fine. But as much as we have this issue of people saying, well, there's neurodivergence, and then there's the black neurodivergence, and then there's the black woman neurodivergence, and then there's a woman, like there are elements to it going. Like I would turn up to places and people would say, oh, I didn't realize you had any diversity at all. Like I couldn't quite tell that you, because culturally, this is how I am. That's different to what it's like people want to put you in a box. You should look like this. You should sound like this. This is how you, and then they forget everything else that comes with who you are. And the fact that if I were to mention some of these things, I have people in my life who will say, you're just being ungrateful. God gave you life. You can see, you can walk in. Now you're picking at things that, because that's just how Christianity and the way we're brought up is. And so I've had to live like that. I've had to mirror and mask. And all my life, I've found ways. I sit in my corner and find ways and tools to get me through. And so a little bit like, you know, we were discussing before when River said that they could see through certain areas because they knew where they were going, what was happening. And so that was familiar. I behave the way I do because this is what people are familiar with. This is what they know that I should be as a Black woman.
It's like you have this like mask that you put on, isn't it? And it's like persona that you put across, and this is me. This is what you want me to be, so this is me.
Yeah. But then when I am, you can't see any other thing that actually you need to see. And so when I introduce that to people, it's like, oh, I would never have known. Well, what do you want me to look like?
Yeah.
You know,
so what's in your head?
Yeah. What should you look like? Yeah.
Well, it's also, again, those sort of boxes people are put into. Like, there's words for that.
Wow.
So I am very jealous of your having a dyslexia diagnosis. I was right. You're very intelligent. You just can't read. So no, I just couldn't read aloud. Or I'd hand in coursework and it would be excellent, but I couldn't complete a test. And as far as maths was, I was in the dunce group. They bounced me between the top and the bottom. They didn't know what to do with me because I could not deal with numbers. I still can't deal with numbers.
Numbers on my poop tonight. Let's not go there.
I always go to my husband, who is dyslexic, but he's good with numbers. Scrap words. And it's like when my niece is autistic and my brother, very silly, because I don't know where she got it from, but before she was diagnosed, when she's not autistic, she's just stubborn like me. It's like, we're both autistic. We've just never been through that process. We were, no, you're intelligent, keep going. Which is always fun.
It's interesting for me watching Dylan grow up, and especially now he's an adult. And it's like there's certain, because he's obviously, so Desiree and River, you've not met him, but he's not non-verbal, but he is kind of non-verbal at the same time. Very one-word answers and just certain behaviours. And there's parts of him that I see and I'm just like, that is so me. And it really makes you think about yourself, and it's like, oh, he has got these traits from me. And it's like, oh, I wonder if I'm on the spectrum a bit. And then I'm like, I really must be.
Just a little. I mean, from my perspective, people, twice, 20 years apart, I was meeting somebody I'd never met before, and somebody who knew me a much better on both occasions went, Joe's going to be quiet for a while. It's nothing against you. She'll talk when she's comfortable. It's like, it just takes me a little while to get into a social situation with new people. But also, where was I going? Come on, brain. I can't remember the story I was telling, so I won't.
I'm glad it's not just me, Joe.
Brain fog, man.
Brain fog.
Fog's rude.
So on that neurodivergent tangent, it's time for another lovely spoonful of loveliness, which will be, who can say, even more lovely than the one before. Your mileage may vary.
SH Policy Support, helping small businesses and sole traders create and refine the policies and procedures they need to thrive. Whether you're looking to streamline your operations, ensure compliance, or build a strong foundation for growth, SH Policy Support offers the consultancy and tailored guidance that fits your unique needs. From startups to established businesses, they'll work closely with you to develop clear, effective strategies that make a real impact. Ready to take your business to the next level? Visit shpolicysupport.co.uk to get started today.
All right, welcome back. I have got probably one more question for you before I pass over to Claire for some community questions. What do you wish people knew?
In what way?
What?
What do you mean?
About either facing discrimination, how to face your like you yourself, or stopping microaggressions, anything. What do you wish people knew in regards to facing discrimination?
I've got one. If the person is fat and in a wheelchair, don't assume that they're disabled because they're fat. It could be that they're fat because they're disabled.
Yeah, or medications.
Or medications, yeah.
Let's not talk about that. Well, Karen did earlier, didn't she? Change my bed. Oh, look, I gained some weight.
Yeah, because I had a rude awakening one time when I rocked up to my favorite restaurant with my family, and this lady had been thin, or no, she had been large all the time I've known her. And then so I have this thing where wherever I'm comfortable with is where I go because of my diversity, and also we're a neurodivergent family. So we just kept going, and I knew this lady. She's just, I knew her. And then one day I turned up and she was stick thin. And I said, oh my God, what's happened to you? She said, because she was kind of really struggling to walk. She was disabled because of her weight before, and now she's standing and she's just normal. So I said, oh gosh, you've been healed. And I started doing the tongues, praying on her, say, hallelujah, praise be to Jesus. Look at what God has done. And she said to me, she said, no, actually, I was on some medication that made me gain weight and then made my joints weaker. And then I became, what? And so something happened. She got some regulation with her meds, and then she got off them, and the weight just dropped. She said, I did nothing. I had to do nothing. I just had to have my medication looked at. Something else was given to me, and here I am. So.
Great start, Desiree. I think I want to follow on with that one when it comes to mental health. So what I wish people would have known in maybe 2013, in fact, no, probably a bit earlier, 2013, was not to look at me as some angry beaver that did not care about anybody else, and I was just showing off, is what I got told. Oh. What I wish people would have realised is the taking the tablets, the drinking excessively was my cry for help. I was trying to block out all those thoughts that were going off in my head. I'm talking to somebody at the moment, and they are actually trying to come off the drink and don't realise how detrimental it can be and how it can make mental health worse. And that's obviously because I've been there, I've done it with a t-shirt. But I wish people would have taken the time to understand why I was such an angry beaver, as they used to call me, and have that time and that compassion to say what is really going off. Because I think, especially with my background with the we talked about it earlier, the mining town village, the male. Now I'm not doing the sexy thing, but it was the if you cry you're weak, that sort of mentality. So I would spend a lot of time growing up just crying into my pillow because I wasn't sure how I was going to be received. If I'll give you something to cry for. Well, I'm already crying. What a daft statement. I'm already crying. I just need somebody to help me. But it wasn't. It was a shut up. Crack on. You're all right. And because of that mentality growing up, it made things worse when the proverbial hit the fan. So yeah, I just wish people would spend that time with other people and just get to know them as a person and not look at either a disability, whether it's physical or invisible type thing. I hope that makes sense.
It does.
Yeah.
So I think there should be more done in schools to educate kind of secondary school age about mental health, disability, and your invisible disabilities as well. Just so that they're not, because then they're going into the world and they're going to meet new people and they're going to have a better understanding of them. And like you said, Angie, it's like you behave in a certain way because it was required for help. And sometimes people do things like that, and it's just they're not doing it to be an arsehole. Sorry, Gary. It's just it's their way of coping and having that mechanism. I used to do it. I used to be like, don't deal with my feelings, don't deal with my emotions. I'm gonna go get drunk instead.
Me too.
And it's like, oh, I'm fun, life of the party, everything's fantastic. It's not. But you put on that persona, and it's just like, if I do this and I keep on doing this, no one will know. But you feel like you're asking for help at the same time because surely someone's going to realize that you're behaving differently. But because you're doing so well at masking it at the same time, they don't. So a bit more understanding as people grow up, that I think would help massively. I think it should be a big thing in schools, just so that everyone's going into their adult life with a lot more understanding and empathy.
I'm glad you brought that up about school, Claire. Don't get me on my soapbox. Right, I'm on it. So the story regards to my daughter. Now, she's been an ill young lady for quite a few nights. Say now she's 19. Sorry if she listens to this. Anyway, growing up, she was always ill. And I kept taking her to the doctors. And they just take some, it's anti-allergy stuff. She's got allergies, blah, blah. It's hay fever. And they wouldn't listen. And I'm like, this is not normal. We only found out a few years ago that she'd got a deviated septum, so she couldn't breathe through one side of her nose. She was getting chronic headaches to the point she was on the floor screaming and crying, really bad stomach aches to the point that she couldn't move. She had what is it called, vestibular disease, which is to do with the chest swelling up. What did school do to help her? Put her on report.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
And that I was fighting the school left, right, and centre. And I'm like, do you not understand that you telling her that she's now on report and she's going to get lower grades, etc., is putting more stress on her, which is making it even iller. So we do need to be getting in there at schools and educating and, well, having that empathy for the children as well, not just adults, because that's where it
100%.
starts.
Yeah, I know someone who was put on a behaviour report for stimming, and it's like a stim isn't bad behaviour.
No.
It's like, that's absolutely not what it's about. And yeah, I agree, schools should have a lot more understanding. There's just that thing like, oh, your attendance is low, and it's like, yes, but have you looked at why that is? Or very judgy phrases like school refusing, and it's like, is someone refusing to go to school, or is there an issue that means they don't feel able or they don't want to go to school? And those are two completely different things. And also, if they could get up-to-date resources that are actually from a decent advocacy group or charity. It's like we had some great things at uni when we had local charities coming in, and they were like, here's some really practical things you can do to help people. And it's like, don't have things on white paper. If you have yellow paper instead, it's easier for people to see if they're partially sighted. It's easier for people with ADHD. Or things like, if you are leading someone, give them your elbow so it's more secure, and let people know if there's going to be steps coming up, which is something that may not occur to you. But for goodness sake, if there's a big flight of steps coming up, let someone know. Again, obvious or if there's one step, people who'll just automatically step and not realise that, yeah, I didn't know that was coming, that would have been useful. But actual useful, up-to-date, practical resources that people can use that have come from people who actually experience something, rather than weird a sheet of like, oh, you can't say disabled toilet because it sounds like the toilet's not working and that's very judgmental. The what now?
Honestly,
We need to focus on.
honestly, with that comment, Karen, that sort of mentality it blows my brain.
I've got one for doctors, because it's been a bit of a struggle for us recently. The link between the fact that disabilities can, or the unmet needs of certain of disabilities can cause mental health issues.
Absolutely.
I feel like, yeah, like that's not coming through.
110%.
Why not? Like, somebody needs to do something about this. I don't know who. Your doctors are the upper echelons of people who help you. And when they don't see this, it's just such a mammoth task to try and climb over, because they, by virtue of the fact that they don't get it, they also put limitations on you as to what help you can get. Because if they don't understand it, they're not going to help you, like, write letters or so that you can open the door to the help that you need. They become a barrier to your.
They're the gatekeepers.
They're the gatekeepers.
Yeah, that, and not recognising the order of things. Like, I've known people who are like, oh, you don't really have a health problem, you're just anxious. And it's like, no, I'm anxious because I'm not getting a diagnosis and no one is helping me.
That's
Yeah,
my
they
life
don't.
right now.
They don't realise the knock-on effect of the lack of support and everything that comes with it. I'm going to use my husband as an example, and hopefully he won't moan at me for kind of sharing a bit. But he suffers very badly with his mental health. There's schizophrenia in his family and things, and his mental health anxiety is appalling. But sometimes he'll go to the doctors just for that peace of mind and reassurance, yet he's made to feel so small. Yet they know what he suffers with. And there's been things that they've done we've had to move doctors because they worded things in a certain way that's made him panic and feel like there's something more wrong. And it's like, but you know that this person suffers with this.
Wow.
Like, surely there's a better way to deal with this, to give them the support they need, so that they're not going to come to you for advice to feel better and end up spiraling for 4 hours. There's got to be some balance there, and just, yes, credit to all the work they do and studying they do, but you feel very rushed sometimes. It's like, oh, you've got 10 minutes to see a doctor, you can only speak to him about 2 things. He can go in with a whole bloody list.
Yeah, that's the problem when you've got the list. And it's like, but it's taken me this long to get this one.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sure sometimes, like, we phone up to book an appointment and they probably think, oh God, not again. But it's like, we had it I think it was in the summer. He went in for something and they were just like, they done an ECG, is it an ECG where they do the thing on your heart?
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, like, something's not reading right, go up to the hospital. Someone with mental health anxiety, to be told, go straight to the hospital. The panic was insane. And I'm one of those people, unfortunately, if you're stressed or overly anxious, I feel your anxiety. So there's both of us just like, I'm like, I'm going to be calm, I'm going to be calm.
No.
Turns out there was nothing wrong. But we're at the hospital for 4.5 hours at the same time. Thankfully, the hospital staff were amazing. But it's just that unnecessary stress that you don't need in the process. And it's like, there's got to be more. And the waiting to try and get a therapist or to do your CBT therapy, it's insane.
That's
Like, I'm going to set Desiree off on now. She's going to be like, don't get me started.
I had similar with my husband, who a few years ago, before he got redundancy at his job, he was having a really difficult time. I was off after a mental breakdown and I was suddenly walked in because he'd had one as well and he just couldn't cope. And he went to the doctors and he'd had 6 sessions of talking therapy through work, and their entire, he'd actually, because he doesn't do medication ever, unless he absolutely has to. And it got to the point where he realised his mental health was so bad, he wasn't coping, he should probably try some medication. And he went to the doctors to tell them this. And their answer was, well, have you tried CBT? I was like, yeah, I had it through work. He's like, have you tried NHS CBT?
It's that different.
It's like M&S food.
Yeah.
You can just
This isn't
buy
just
the
any
book.
CBT,
It's the
this is
same
NHS
worksheets.
CBT.
Yeah.
NHS CBT.
Well, it's the same worksheets, but with a longer wait list.
Yeah.
So yeah, they gave him the self-referral leaflet, but it said like, so it's an 8-week wait. And so he came back to me absolutely beside himself. He says, what do I need to do? Do I need to hurt myself before they'll listen?
Yeah.
So I said, right, tomorrow we're making a new appointment. I'm coming with you because I've navigated the mental health system. I'm heavily medicated and I don't function if I'm not. So I went with him. Thankfully, we got a different doctor, which the first one was the mental health nurse. The second one was a GP who actually listened and went, yes, it sounds like you need medication. And once they got him on the right one, it was okay. And he had situational depression. So once he was out of that work environment, he recovered. But I can do that for him. Like I struggle to deal with my own medical stuff to the point of any time at the moment when I'm interacting with Pip, I have to take him with me. Because other than the brain fog means I forget things, and I'm really bad at explaining myself, I know that prejudice is there and I need him to advocate for me. And I think having someone there to advocate for you is really important.
It really is. And it's such a minefield with that whole system because you can have conversations with people about things.
I had that when I had Bell's palsy, and on the day it manifested, as it were, I had to explain everything about 5 times. I was exhausted just from explaining everything, never mind the actual illness.
Yeah, absolutely. I had that. I was having lots of tests for mystery and neurological stuff. And every time they said, oh, is there anyone else in your family who has any neurological things?
But, yeah. Like, I'm not trying to tell you to do your job, but like you're making my life hell because some of these things that I'm having to tell you, when I do, it's me going through the processes of, and guess what? I've not had any help with this yet. So it's still a thing.
Yeah, it's still a thing and it's still raw.
It's still raw.
Yeah.
And it puts you back in all those emotions and those feelings. And so you're going through it all. And then it's just, you sat there with it afterwards and it's like, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah.
It's going to take me 3 days to recover from this appointment I've just had with you.
Yeah.
You actually realise that.
Yeah, and when you're in the middle of it, you don't have that perspective because you're in the middle of it. And I think a bit of acknowledgement that for a lot of people, it's difficult to come forwards and stand up and say, I need help in the first place. That could be a massive process for someone to go to a doctor or for someone to support them. It's been a huge step to get to that point. And if you feel dismissed, that doesn't encourage people to keep at it.
I had that when I first went with depression to a doctor. I'd been depressed since my teens. I just dealt with it because I'm also from a small town, ex-mining town, and it was you just dealt with it. You just carried on until I went to uni, and I couldn't cope, so I started drinking. And one night it got to the point of I was afraid to move from my bed because I was afraid what I'd do, but I couldn't speak to a doctor, so I wrote it down. Thankfully, I had a fabulous doctor because I'd also had a mental health referral previous to that, or just after that, where I actually got to speak to somebody to assess me. And it was out in the sticks. I don't travel well as when I don't know where I'm going. So I was anxious through the roof. So and I was late. So by the time I got there, I was in a right state. And no, I didn't want to answer her questions. And I really struggled with it. And eventually she went, I think you're just a little bit sad. Take it. Don't have any preconceived notions. Take it one at a time. River, do you have anything else to add before I pass over to Claire?
I think you've covered most of it. I think definitely like mental health with doctors. If you go in with a physical issue, sometimes it's like, oh, well, it's probably just anxiety. And no, it's not. Like, it's an actual thing, but sometimes as soon as they see anxiety on your records, oh, it's anxiety.
Or if you've got a physical problem, they'll try to link it to what you've already got.
Yeah,
Can't be anything else.
exactly. And I'm like, no, not really. Yeah, I think that's kind of all, really.
Fabulous. Well, thank you all for that lively discussion. Claire has some community questions for us to round up this episode.
My laptop is. I was playing well. Let me open the screen. Fantastic. It's always a gamble. So our first one from Lisa is, her supervisor keeps making inappropriate comments. I've talked to her about it, but she doesn't stop. Is it appropriate to complain to HR? Well, that's a different, because that's a proper work-based one.
Absolutely. You go to the person. If you can't fix it with a person, go above their head.
Angie.
But no, I don't think there's anything wrong with kind of going further if the people that you've been talking to aren't doing what they need to support you, no matter what the situation. So our next one is from Sammy, and it says, someone at work keeps making nasty comments. If I wrote them down, they wouldn't sound wrong, no slurs, but I know they're aimed at me. What do I do about it? Who wants to jump in on that one?
You just burst it. Go on, Angie.
It's just that thing of knowing. It's like the nuance, isn't it? You just, when you're in it, they're saying something, and then everything else. It's almost like that thing of you just had to be there. Like there's no, like we have this thing culturally that the same word can be said. If I wrote it down, you would think that this is what the person, but the drop or the intonation, it just changes it from something that is so innocent, it could even be darling, to go get your mother. I completely understand this person. If they feel, it's how the person made them feel. Go with that. And should you write it down? I would perhaps say at the time that it happens, probe it a little bit more at that time. Don't let it pass, because that person can always go back and say they didn't mean that or whatever. Hope that there's somebody there listening, or if there is somebody there listening, just query if they heard, and if they feel, I don't know, if they get the same. It's a difficult one, but yeah, I would say try and find circumstances or scenarios where there's somebody else there and see if they feel the same.
And also, if it is that someone's trying to be a bit snidey with it and hide what they're saying, then they absolutely know they're doing wrong.
Oh yeah. So call it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
God, Desiree. I absolutely agree with you, Desiree. That feeling, if this person is feeling something by somebody saying something, then it's obviously tapping into you, for sure. Yes, sometimes we can misinterpret things, but if you are feeling a certain way, then call them out, but have somebody with you so they can't say, well, you didn't say anything, blah, blah. And like you were saying, it's a tonality. If that tonality is tapping into you, then they've been like, I'm just going to get off my soapbox. Challenging.
Stay on that soapbox, it's fine.
We love an Angie on a soapbox.
Oh, I've got several.
Love it. So our last one from Adam. Other people in my company keep being promoted over me as I'm not a people person. I've done air quotes for people that aren't watching. But I always get good reviews from customers. Is that discrimination?
Ooh, now I've been here before.
Yeah, me too.
Hence my mental breakdown, because I used to work so hard at trying to get up that level, because I was brought up, if you keep going up the levels, then you're a success. And people were getting promoted over me, to the point that I was training up managers, and then a trainee would then be my manager, hence my mental breakdown. So discrimination could be, yeah, because whoever is putting somebody above you, obviously, well, not obviously, may not like you. I don't know, but I can definitely resonate with that person for sure.
But why was yours the case, Angie? Was it because you're not a people? I mean, this person is because they're not a people.
Apparently, I wasn't good enough at my job.
But you were.
If
But you're
were
training managers.
people.
You were.
So, yeah,
I
yeah,
was training them.
obviously.
Exactly. So that was definitely discrimination on my point. But if you're not a people person, do you need to be a people person to do that said job?
I mean, it depends on what the actual job is itself.
What the job is.
You know, if you're a bit of a face-to-face role,
Mm-hmm.
you probably do need to be a bit of a people person.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's an office-based thing, you're managing a team, whoever's putting you in that role, there's things they can do to work with you, to help you. Yeah, you may not be a people person, but let's do this to help you, just to help them understand you and communicate in the right way. So there's always a way
How is she not a
around.
people person when she can have somebody sitting there next to her and training? She's getting the job done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want me to hug them, kiss them, lick their cheeks? I mean, what are we doing here? How do we measure what is a people person?
I love
Well,
it,
also,
Desiree.
yeah, what does that feedback mean? Is it, I mean, it could be that someone's great with customers, but maybe they're not so good at giving feedback in a team. But if that's the case, tell people that,
Right,
give them the
yeah,
opportunity
let
to
me
build
know.
those skills up. Don't just say you're not a people person, because
Yeah.
that's, you can't, how do you become a people person? Where if it's like, this is specifically the area we think you need to work on, you can work on that. Whereas just dismissing someone as not a people person, especially if they're getting good feedback from customers.
Yeah.
I think the phrase that's often used is your face doesn't fit, because
Yeah.
they expect a certain type of person, and if you're deviate from that in any way, whether it's mentally, physically, or what, you're not getting that.
Mm-hmm.
They will be prejudiced towards you. And yeah, at that point, it's discrimination, or they're just not doing a very good job of explaining what you need to improve to get there.
Yeah.
Imagine someone saying that to Angie, your face didn't fit.
Desiree, can we get boxes? Can you get your soapbox right next to me?
Oh dear.
Honestly, years I would have got really angry about that situation. Then I went into my quiet mode because I couldn't cope. And then I've got to the level now where I am. I've learned that stop caring about what the people think and feel.
Mm.
Are they gonna, nobody's gonna come and save me. Are they there for me? No. Are they, when you look at when somebody's doing something, one of the things, does their opinion matter? I used to worry about what everybody else thought and felt. And now I've got to that stage in my life where there is no given.
Yeah.
I didn't swear. Well done, me. High
See,
five.
that was me. I'd have just said it and been like, sorry, Gary.
No, I'm being very, very mindful of Gary's work. Bless him.
It's after 12 o'clock, it's fine. That is all of our community questions. So back to you, Joe.
No, but Karen to wrap up for us.
Yep. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. And for each of our lovely guests, do you have something you'd like to plug, promote, or draw people's attention to? Angie, do you have anything?
Funny enough, I actually did some this morning. Every year, so this is for any people that like being outside that are campers. I know some people are into their mental well-being, but they're not campers. So if you're not camping, this is not for you. Bless, I know Claire keeps wanting to come, but
I'm not camping.
No, it's a well-being retreat that I run every June over the summer solstice, and it's a 4-day event. I'll get my thingies ready, and it's in the heart of Sherwood Forest. So if anybody wants to find out about that, you can contact me. The details will be in the show notes. I think that's right. I don't know. I ain't got a clue what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, all the links will be in the show notes for you, so that's fine.
They will indeed. Desiree, do you have anything you'd like to plug, promote, or draw attention to?
Yes. As innocent as some of my services look like on social media, it has depth to it. And there are some mental health disorders that I treat that reveals itself in hair loss patterns or habits that then cause hair loss. And some of the conditions are permanently and scarring. So if people go onto my YouTube especially, I do more education on there, and that could be quite helpful if you're far from me. But if not, I am in Leicester, so if you need some of my help, you can come and I can help you.
You can see Claire furiously scribbling.
Oh
Yeah.
no, when we first met Desiree at the start of this, I had already written down her name because obviously I suffer with alopecia really badly. I get really dry scalp just on one side randomly and just in one patch. And I mean I've had the alopecia for like 20 years and I know it's all stress related, but the fact that you specialize in it, and obviously it's really hard, and because I grew up in a very like white family, no one knows how to help me manage my hair. So I've already scribbled details to connect with you afterwards and just be like, help me.
Yeah, sure, definitely. Of course, my treatments and services are multicultural. My thing was to be
Inclusive.
Jesus in my field. Everybody together. And I just felt like if we want to do this, we've got to do it. I mean, we are the same. We have our differences and we celebrate the differences, but we also celebrate the similarities. And my job is to do that. So I care for everybody. And I'll gladly welcome you to come in, Claire, for you to, or just speak to me on the phone.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. And River, do you have anything you'd like to plug, promote, or draw attention to?
So I'm running the London Marathon in April for a charity that supports and empowers blind and visually impaired children and young adults. So if you want to check out my story, support my fundraiser, the link will be in the show notes.
Yes. I don't know if you can see it, River, but I was like,
Well, when you said you were in Leicester, I was like, because I'm also in Leicester.
Oh, well, there you go.
You brought people together.
Oh,
Yeah, and there's 3 of us in knots, so
yeah.
nice. That's just around the corner.
Yeah. Just Claire needs to move further down here.
Yeah, Claire needs to come down this way.
I know, that is the plan. Well, nearish to that way, but not that far.
Closer. Manchester's close.
Closer. Manchester's closer, yeah.
Half an hour away from me, just saying.
That's how we have to win.
Direct train.
So I
Yeah.
think we're just going to be sorting out our meeting now and bringing people together. That's what we like. So thank you to our guests once again, and thank you to you, our loyal listeners, viewers, and or others. So thank you for joining us for 3 Spoonies on discrimination. We'd love to know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for our weekly podcast and leave us a review. You can find us on social media, and we'd love it if you join us in the Business Success Network for Disabled Entrepreneurs Facebook group. You can also buy us a coffee if you like what we do. All the links will be in the show notes. We'll check. We'll see you next week for our next episode. Have a great day and keep track of your spoons.